So guys, this is the OOMI Home. It is a complete smart home system capable of entertainment, lighting, as well as security. Now they have sponsored the video on this channel, but of course, as usual, this will not change my opinions at all. Let's get started. So, taking a look at the outside, we've got a pretty chunky exterior. There's definitely quite a few bits and pieces in this box, and just inside we've got a little message which is welcoming us to the community, as it calls it. And the first thing you'll see, and something I quite like, is how they've got instruction manuals and they're just single-sided sheets per item. We've then got the UniTouch, which is essentially the tablet from which you can control the entire system. And then we've got the Infinity Dock, which is kind of like the base station that for the most part you'll be keeping your UniTouch in. Just below that we've got the OOMI Cube, which may look just like a camera, but it actually has 8 different sensors built into it. We'll get onto that a bit later. We've got 2 standard mains plugs, 1 OOMI smart plug, and then 2 of OOMI smart bulbs, which are kind of interesting because the entire weight is distributed in the metal base and the top is made completely of plastic. Nonetheless, as a group of items, they have a clear, coherent design language. There's lots of jagged lines, lots of sharp edges, and primarily lots of glass and shiny plastic, which on one hand is great when it's clean. Unfortunately though, most of the items here do attract a lot of fingerprints. The tablet especially, which when clean, looks like a high-end tablet that you'd pay a lot of money for. The only problem is that 1 week later, it might not look quite the same. But its finish aside, the UniTouch is a really well thought out piece of kit. The way it connects magnetically into the dock with the little pins on its base is very clever. It's a strong magnetic connection and it's not going to shift once it's in. Now it's also got 2 different input methods. You can either use the 7-inch 1280 by 800 display on the front, or you can actually use the physical hardware buttons. Either way, it is a very fast device to use. Now, whilst you are using the UniTouch, you'll constantly be reminded that this is an Android device that has essentially been blocked from using Android. It only runs OOMI's own software, but the flip side of that is that the software is very, very good at what it does. So right at the box, one of the first things I noticed is how fast the whole thing was to set up. Each of the OOMI products has a little orange dot on the back, and all you do to set up the devices is tap the 2 orange dots together. And literally within seconds, the devices are paired, they're connected and ready to control. So let's talk about the OOMI Cube, and as I said earlier, whilst it would be very easy to overlook this as just another camera, it is essentially a complete security and monitoring system all in one box. And it's a well thought out piece of kit. It's completely adjustable, has infrared sensors going in 360 directions to communicate with other parts of the system, and it also has cables positioned in a way that doesn't create too much clutter. So switching back to the tablet, if you do want to have a check on your room, you simply tap 2 buttons and you can see a live camera feed. It's got a wide viewing angle of 120 degrees and it captures 720p video, which is not the sharpest on the market, but for its intents and purposes is more than enough. And from the second you turn it on, it'll start crunching numbers. You'll be able to see everything from your temperature to your ambient light to your humidity, your motion, and so much more. It's also got a night vision mode, so it sees everything at all times of the day. And because of its sophisticated motion sensing technology, it's a pretty good tool to be able to arm your alarm system. Now, this has to be one of my favourite features of the entire kit. The OOMI Smart Plug essentially turns a non-smart appliance into a smart appliance. The plug itself will connect to Wi-Fi as well as your OOMI system, which means remotely you can turn things on and off, which you wouldn't otherwise have been able to, and you can also monitor their power usage, all from the tablet itself. So for example, instead of connecting it directly to the mains, I connected my video lighting kit straight through a smart plug. And what that means is that instead of getting up, going behind the product, finding the switch and manually turning off, you can simply tap 1 button on the tablet and off it goes. I suppose another handy benefit is that it does also have a USB built in, so if you wanted to charge your smartphone by the same process, you can do that. Now, I've tried a lot of smart home systems, and one of the big problems that seems to happen with them is they're very complicated to automate. And that is one area that OOMI really has tried to separate itself in, and for the most part it does a really good job. You can actually create if and then commands simply by dragging and dropping, and it's so simple that an 8-year-old could do it. You could set it so that when the ambient lighting in the room hits a certain lower limit, then automatically your lights will turn on. And yes, when combined with the smart plug, that means even your non-smart lights. Now, something we haven't talked about yet are the OOMI smart bulbs. And as we've come to know and love, the setup was completely seamless, but unfortunately the lights aren't quite as bright or as vivid as perhaps their competitors are. Having said that, they are still great at creating pools of light and some ambience in your room. Through the UniTouch, you can control just about every aspect of them, from individual colours to the patterns of colours they might cycle through. But to be honest, I think more impressively is the way the OOMI is compatible with all your other smart home products. So if you did, for example, already have a load of Philips Hue bulbs and you wanted to use them with your OOMI system, that works seamlessly. They are connected within seconds and you can still take full control over their colours, over their brightness and the patterns they cycle through. You don't get quite as much functionality as you would if you were using the original Philips Hue app, but at the same time you get more than enough. So that is the OOMI Smart Home, and at $699 it does cost more than a typical smart home kit, but after using it for a week or so you really start to understand why. Because each item has so much functionality packed into it, you realize that the initial starter kit is pretty much everything you need. You might want to customize your experience to your liking. For example, you may need to buy a couple of extra smart plugs if you want to automate some more processes, but actually at its very core, everything you need is in that starter kit. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. As I said earlier, this was sponsored by OOMI. They sent out the stuff for me to review, but of course that has not changed my opinions whatsoever. I've been completely honest, and I always will be. So with that being said, thanks a lot for watching. I'm Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'm signing out.